Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Tior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 14. Alright, so, sorry for not having a video last week. My opponent gave up in the middle of the ban pick, so there wasn't really much of the show. This week, there was a new banner, which had all these Shining Resonance collab characters, so like Karika, Sonya, and Excella. Really, the only one that usually sees any action is Karika, because she is a physical ranged AoE that can essentially range snipe things. So I did add her to the box. I replaced Lucretia and Kayura. I think that's the name. I always get them mixed up. But I dropped them and took Karika, and I took Ashimir. So essentially the idea is to try to use Karika and then try to stack additional buffs on her to take full advantage of this. This match is on Sunday, mainly because I needed the casting materials to fully max out Karika. The only thing that she's not maxed out in is stars. She's only 5 stars and not 6 stars, which makes me a little concerned about her damage output right now, but it is what it is. I also lost a match prior to this where I tried out Karika, but unfortunately I let my opponent have a little bit too much mobility, and I was player 2, and they overwhelmed me before I can do anything. Anyway, our opponent here has 2 tanks. One of them is physical only with Vargas here. And we got Landius. This Landius was only level 64, so I think he was it looks like he was just ban bait, which I definitely took part in. That being said, even at level 64, he still could be kind of annoying because of his aura that reduces range damage, which is the main reason why I banned him. Everything else is mostly just mobility, rushdown, junk for the most part. And it has, looks to be 3 healers. Alright, so yeah, ban Landius because I didn't want his aura to hinder my damage. They banned my Resident Seal, which is nothing new. And they take the Awakened one. Awakened one's kind of annoying, especially if my opponent's smart enough to take Teleport, because being first player and having Teleport just gives them even more initiative, which is really annoying. I get rid of Leon, get rid of Sherry. This time, in my previous match, I took Karika first and kind of tried to play off of that. But I kind of learned my lesson, and instead I went ahead and grabbed Leona. This will ensure that I have buffs, ensures that I have some decent AoE heal and dispel, or cleanse. But it also gives me an act again as player 2, which is very useful. When lost the Awakened one, lost what's her name? Lightbringer. And they go ahead and take Sword and Light Shadow. I go ahead and get rid of... it's another one of those KA names, so it's either Kagura, Kayura, or something else. I also get rid of Jintoki. Didn't really want it. I'm already going to have to deal with Sword and Light and Shadow. I don't have Crystal Barriers. I don't have Lightbringer, so she's going to probably tank bust me pretty hard. I went and grab Karika at this point just to get that started. They go ahead and get rid of my Ashimir. I got rid of my Polyol. And they go ahead and take Wedham, which I'm completely fine with. Them taking flyers is a-okay for me. As long as I have a way to, act before they wreck me. I go ahead and get rid of both their act agains. And I go ahead and take Leona at this point. I was a little concerned at this point, because at this point my opponent could have banned Christiane, and that would have really hurt me as far as buffs are concerned. But my opponent instead went for Hilda instead, and got rid of one of my other casters, so I was actually free to go ahead and grab Christiane. Karika is Princess faction, so this will give me a full buff range with Christiane, which is great. They go ahead and take Grinshield, which is fine by me. It's just another flyer. The shield thing, of course, is annoying, but I can outrange her at this point. Go ahead and get rid of that remaining healer, get rid of her Lucretia, and she can technically self-res. Go ahead and grab Christiane. They go ahead and ban the last of my healing. Well, they ban my other act again, get rid of my ranged DPS. And then they go ahead and grab Auden Kelmo. So at this point I could grab another tank, or I can grab a Rewind. So I will go ahead and take a Rewind. Alright, So we got a Sword and Light Shadow, spec for single target. Got Grin Shield here, got Air Slash, rest of standard kit. On Kelmo, this one did bring Deflection, which actually gives a passive intelligence to defense buff. I actually didn't know about that passive part. That's actually kind of nice. Grab that, single target, and of course her 3C. What I'm here is single target, and Awaken 1 brought single target. As for us, I went with Shrine Maidens with Karika and brought all of her exclusive abilities. So she has her teleport, damage increase, her version of Arrow Rain that gets bigger if she has a bunch of stacks on her, and then she has her 3C, which is a long range snipe. Christiane here, Phalanxes, and then kind of the standard kit for her. Lana here, Redeemers, all of her AoE. Sophia here did bring Rewind in her 3C, and Liana I brought Act Again in her 3C. Right, so my opponent was pretty aggressive here. My opponent actually took a while on their turns. Definitely was thinking hard, especially after I did this as my first action. So I teleported to Karika, so she hadn't moved at all, so she got 2 stacks for every movement she didn't use, so 6 in total, so she has 6 additional range. And also anyone that was 2 spaces away from her got 10% increased damage for 1 turn. So her next attack will do increased damage. Alright. Grin Shield went ahead and pushed to here. So her actually standing on this cliff face is actually very important, which we'll talk about later. But her positioning is I'm actually within range to hit whoever I want pretty much. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is her range right now. 9 range would be the Brilliant Flash. It is a line AoE, so you have to kind of line up with the opponent. But the Smai Shiguri has 8 range right now and has additional span. So it can go all the way to here and then hit both these flyers. And of course flyers are weak against archers, so the AoE would do even more damage. More than likely they have last rites that help mitigate some of that at least. So at this point I go ahead and do the faction buff. Get as much damage as possible. I of course have an all-female party, so it maximizes the buff. So at this point I went ahead and just pushed in, and I was able to hit both these targets with what's it called? Heaven Sanction. Nearly kills Wedem and heavily wounds Grin Shield. Auden Kelmo moved forward. I was a little concerned about this because obviously Awaken 1 can essentially swap and use the portal and then get in range to do some damage to me. But actually puts it like weird places. So one portal's here and the other one's actually underneath Sword and Light and Shadow. So Awaken 1 can use this by swapping places with Sword and Light and Shadow, but the other thing to note is Redeemers lose their self-res if you ever get a debuff, and that of course applies to anything that's applied to you, but it also affects auras, and these portals do give you a debuff, which is just portal. So while near the portal, I actually don't have a self-res for Redeemers, which kind of sucks. So at this point, I know Awaken 1's coming. I've 100% expected Awaken 1 to just swap places, move in, and then essentially just 3C Redeemer, 3C my Lana, and that would definitely take her out. So expecting that, I knew I couldn't Act Again or Lana. I would have loved to, because then of course Dark Hole and then wreck everything. But instead I played it safe and Act Again Karika. I do have the exclusive, which gives a buff, but I already had a faction buff, so it didn't matter. So here's the key point here. So usually if you do Dimensional Shift on an ally, assuming they don't have displacement immunity, it will swap places. But Grin Shield is actually on a cliff, and whenever you're swapping, you have to swap to a valid tile. And Awaken 1 is not floating or flying, so she can't actually go on the cliff face, so she couldn't swap here. So that actually ruined her. She actually can't get in range to do anything now. So yeah, this mistake probably cost my opponent the match here, which is a bit unfortunate. So I was like, alright, well, I'm just gonna nuke from here, hit all of you, kill 2 of your units. I will point out. Oh wow, 700 HP, holy cow. Why does this Autumn Kelmo only have 700 HP? Actually, like, looking at her stats, yeah, look at these stats, they're not great at all. I realized I had killed Autumn Kelmo when I did this match, but I didn't realize she was this fragile. The other effect that my Shiguri does is it puts a debuff where if the opponent doesn't move, the opponent will take fixed damage at the end of their turn. That only gets reduced based off if they move a number of tiles. So if you end up doing something in place, you'll actually take a bunch of fixed damage. I go ahead and do a rewind at this point. Just refresh everything. I took out 2 of their units. And now I'm going to get to 3 seed here. The rewind does refresh my Shiguri, and I still have the 6 stack here, so everything's within range. So yeah, this is a little annoying. I'm going to get hit by more freaking spellbounds. It adds a little soul thing for Light and Shadow there. So my Shiguri, kill Grand Shield, take a life off of Sword and Light and Shadow. It's not going to matter because the teleport, of course, is going to give the self-res back. So yeah, even at 51% life, and even with phalanxes, just completely annihilates. Alright, so the good news is Rewind also refreshed my act again, and I desperately need it. Sword and Light and Shadow's troops are full health, but her actual health is actually about half. So I go ahead and do act again. I have to do this in a specific order, because I need to take a life off of Sword and Light Shadow, and then I have to follow up with a kill. If I don't, I lose the match. So I do that, do my 3C, gets the kill. The self-res does less health this time, because every time you do it, it actually does less. So her life was low enough, and she had freaking demon troops, so I was able to take advantage of that, and take her out with Sophia. So there you go. First time, this is, I guess, the first time I showed on video the use of Karika. This is my second time using her, actually, as, overall, so she's 1 for 1. But yeah, kill for Sophia, 3 for Karika, and there's one other... Oh, that's right, he gave up, so the last character didn't die. But yeah. Pretty good match. I'm still floating just within range of going Gold 2. I don't really care to go Gold 2 this season. I've been pretty busy. But at least my win rate's kind of stabilized. Obviously, it went really low when I had like the 6 or 8 loss streak I had going at one point. But yeah, Karika's doing pretty well. I definitely need to get her 6 stars, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I could devote some additional shards to her, but I'd rather just wait, and because the season's going to probably end. Yeah, the season's going to end soon, so I'm not going to have to worry too much about it. In any case, I am The Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 14. I'll see you guys later.